My name is Margaret Johnson. I'm 80 years old, and I want to tell how Jesus found me right when I no longer wanted to keep living. I live alone in Madison, Wisconsin, in the same house where I raised my 3 children, Michael, Susan, and Daniel. This house has a small front garden with tulips that I always cared for with love. But there was a time when I let everything dry up. The flowers, the house, and me too. I was a nurse for more than 40 years. I loved my job. I liked helping people, holding patients' hands who had no one else. I remember they often told me, "Mrs. Johnson, you have a huge heart." And yes, I did. I gave it entirely to my children after my husband, Robert, died in an accident in 1982. I had to be strong, raise him alone, work night shifts, sleep little. During that time, I told myself, God gives me strength, I have to keep going for them. I never imagined that many years later, when they were adults, I would be the forgotten one. Everything changed when I turned 78 years old. Every year, the visits were fewer. Michael moved to California, Susan works nonstop in Chicago, and Daniel lives right here in Madison, but I barely see him. When I called them, they didn't answer or told me I'll call you later. And that later never came. The last Christmas we spent together was in 2023. I remember I cooked turkey, pie, mashed potatoes. I waited all afternoon. At 9 at night, I got a message. "Mom, the trip got complicated. Merry Christmas, we love you." That night I ate alone. I left the plate half finished, turned off the lights, and sat in front of the tree. I didn't cry. I just stayed still, like turned off. Sometimes pain doesn't feel like tears, but like silence. After that Christmas, everything lost meaning. I stopped cooking, cleaning, listening to music. The phone was always silent. Days passed without talking to anyone. One morning in January 2025, I woke up and thought, why do I lift my head if today I have no one to say good morning to? I turned on the TV just to hear voices. Sometimes, when it rained, I sat looking out the window for hours. I thought about how life goes on for everyone except one. I started eating little, sleeping poorly. I dreamed of my husband, of my little children running around the house. In those dreams, I was happy, but when I woke up, everything vanished. The worst wasn't the loneliness, but feeling invisible. There were moments when I thought, if I die, who will notice? And that thought haunted me every day. One afternoon, I'll never forget it, I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and saw myself old, tired. I felt anger. I spoke to my reflection as if it were another person. Is this all? Did you raise 3 children to end up talking to yourself? That night I couldn't sleep. And before closing my eyes, I said something I still remember with both fear and hope. God, if you still see me, make me feel something, anything, but make me feel alive again. A few days passed. One February afternoon, someone knocked on the door. It was a young woman, Rebecca, new in the neighborhood. She said she always saw me sitting outside alone and wanted to say hi. She brought homemade bread. She asked if she could come in, and I said yes. We sat in the kitchen. We talked about simple things, the weather, the neighborhood dogs, the flowers I no longer cared for. Without realizing it, I ended up telling her everything. The abandonment, the sadness, the depression. She listened to me in silence. She didn't interrupt or give me empty advice. When she got up to leave, she looked at me and said something that stuck with me. Jesus still sees you, Margaret. He hasn't forgotten you. And before leaving, she added, I go to a church, Grace Community Church. If one day you feel like it, come with me. I don't promise miracles, but yes, people who will listen to you. I don't know why, but those words followed me for days. One Sunday morning, without thinking too much, I got dressed, put on my coat, and went. I wasn't looking for God, I was looking for comfort. When I arrived, a group of smiling people received me. No one looked at me strange for being new. The pastor was talking about the woman who touched the hem of Jesus' garment, Mark 5:25-4. He told how that woman had suffered for 12 years, marginalized, alone, without hope, until one day she dared to approach Jesus in the middle of the crowd. She just touched his garment, and at that instant she was healed. I felt a blow to the chest, because that's how I felt, like that woman, dirty inside, forgotten, with old scars that no one saw anymore. And suddenly I understood something. I didn't need my children to save me. I needed to touch Jesus' hem. That day, I cried like I hadn't in years. From that week on, I started going every Sunday. Rebecca visited me during the week. We prayed together, read the Bible. At first, it was hard for me. I felt uncomfortable, out of place. But as I listened to the songs, I started to feel something in my chest. Jesus started working in me without me realizing it. First, he gave me back my sleep. Then he gave me back the desire to cook. Every time I felt sadness, I opened my Bible to the book of Isaiah, where it says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God who strengthens you." And every time I read that, I felt like he was speaking to me directly. I reached a point where I understood I wasn't alone. Jesus had always been there. It was just that I, locked in my pain, had stopped seeing him. It wasn't that the depression went away in one day, but it no longer controlled me. Now when I felt sadness, I prayed. When I felt like crying, I did it with him. Jesus taught me something that changed my life. That it's not bad to be alone. What's bad is believing that loneliness means abandonment. One day, at a service, the pastor said, "Faith doesn't always take away your problems, but it gives you strength to face them." That's what happened to me. It stopped mattering to me if my children called or not. I no longer lived waiting for the phone. I lived waiting for Jesus every morning. I started organizing a small group of older women at church. Every Tuesday, we have coffee, pray, and share our stories. I discovered that many felt the same as me, but didn't say it out of shame. A few months passed, and one day, Daniel, my youngest son, came home unannounced. He saw me watering the garden and stayed quiet for a while. He told me, "Mom, you look different." I told him everything, from the day Rebecca knocked on my door to how Jesus healed me. Daniel started crying. He asked for forgiveness, and that was one of the most sincere hugs I've ever had. Then Susan came. Later, Michael. I don't know if it was coincidence or divine purpose, but all three started coming closer again. Today is March 2nd, 2026. I get up early, like always. I make coffee, open the curtains, and thank God for one more day. I still have my struggles. There are still days when I miss the past. But now, when I feel sadness, I read Mark 5:34. "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." And I remember that Jesus said the same to me, here in silence, without crowds, without spectacular miracles, just with his love. Jesus didn't change my outside situation. He changed what was broken inside. And now I can say with certainty that faith does heal. If someone is listening to me and feels invisible like I felt, I want to tell them something very simple. Don't wait for the world to come rescue you. Do what that woman did. Approach Jesus even if you're crawling, and touch his hem. He won't leave you lying there. I am living proof of that. At 80 years old, when everyone had forgotten me, Jesus remembered me every day. And today I live in peace, not because my children came back, but because Jesus never left.